Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About, and in this episode we're talking about SCP-197, otherwise known as the Greenhouse. Object class is safe, meaning it's relatively easy to contain and poses little to no threat. I realized I keep picking a lot of safe SCPs. I think that is the majority of SCPs, because I actually don't know what object class has the highest count in the SCP Foundation. It feels like safe, but I have a very small sample pool right now. There is no picture for this one. If you want to find a picture, I suggest looking it up. That'll probably give you something, but this article has no picture. Without further ado, let us begin. Special containment procedures are: to maintain secrecy, SCP-197 has been emptied and abandoned. Under cooperation with local city officials, the building and many other nearby structures have been condemned. On-site security are to check the premises on a weekly basis to physically remove any plant material. The use of fire is not recommended unless it is necessary to facilitate the total removal of any vegetation found within SCP-197. Herbicides are to be applied on a monthly basis to discourage any future attempt at growth. So, it's a greenhouse. That's as much as we know right now. The Foundation is removing plants from it on a weekly basis and using herbicides on a monthly basis to kind of negate future growth. It's not working, if I had to wager a guess. In terms of what SCP-197 is, it is a plant nursery and greenhouse located at Redacted. Currently, the site is abandoned, although previous containment procedures were to maintain the location as a nursery. Most of the anomalous properties of SCP-197 are located within the glass structure of the greenhouse, although research conducted at the time of the site's abandonment suggests that SCP-197 has a wide sympathetic influence on the surrounding area, which has displayed a level of deterioration equal to SCP-197 itself. So this thing is a greenhouse, and what this greenhouse does, from what I am gathering, is it affects plants in some way, and it has influence over plants not originally from the greenhouse, but like grass outside it has influence on. So it does something to the plants. Either it would make them sentient, or poisonous, or deadly, or alive. I don't know. Plants are alive, but you know what I mean. It'd be pretty terrifying to see a grass patch stand up. The entire area around the greenhouse was condemned, so it's not just itself. It affects other buildings as well, and in order to keep a perimeter around it, you abandon other and condemn other buildings to make sure it's all good. Otherwise, the greenhouse might affect it with whatever it might do. So let's figure out what it does. Organisms within the kingdom Plantae that grow within or are introduced to the greenhouse take on additional characteristics, including self-awareness, sensory awareness, sapience, and capacity for language and mobility, despite a lack of nervous system, brain, sensory organs, vocal cords, or muscle structure. Okay, so I was right. It makes them alive. It makes them terrifyingly alive. It makes them able to be self-aware, have senses, sapience, and it can move and speak. I don't think I'd like plants speaking to me. Like most people, seasonal allergies. I would not like plants talking to me. That would be that would be really freaky and something I am not okay with. I really dislike that, actually, that it can move and talk, and it doesn't have anything. It's just a blade of grass that's moving around and talking. Oh god, that's so terrifying. I guess it's safe, though, because they don't really have a way of killing you. I affect you with pollen. Die. Continuing on. Organisms also typically have an increased growth rate and elongated lifespan. Angiosperms that flowers only at night or for a short period of time will be in a perpetual state of bloom while within SCP-197. Organisms removed from SCP-197 seek to display anomalous properties, but will retain their hardiness and overall health. Okay, so if the plant is in the greenhouse, it has all the characteristics. If you remove it from the greenhouse, it loses its ability to move, talk, sapience, self-awareness, all that stuff, but it does keep its elongated lifespan, and it grows very quickly. That it does keep no matter what, but it does lose its ability to speak, so that's good. And it has an influence over, so it's like an aura of, it's like a spread kind of thing. If you remove it, it gets rid of the anomalous properties, so that's probably why it's safe. Just don't go near the greenhouse and you should be fine. Something isn't adding up to me, and I can't put it into words. How is it growing plants? I guess like weeds, but it sounds to me like it's growing random plants too, and I don't know if that's the case. Organisms which lose their sapience upon removal from SCP-197 will regain it upon reintroduction with no change in personality. With few exceptions, these organisms do not appear to greatly value their sentience, and are often eager to leave SCP-197, despite being unable to experience the world outside as anything other than a typical member of the species. So it's like a freedom-based thing. It's like, you don't want to be trapped in something. You want to escape it. You want to see the world, especially if you're a plant. Like, I want to know what else is out there, but if you leave the greenhouse, you lose that ability to even process that information, which is kind of sad. Granted, I do not want a cult of plants all planning their escape. That'd be kind of... I don't like the plants being able to talk and plan and think without brains or anything. I just don't like it. I understand plants are alive, and that is fine, but I don't like plants being alive, if you know what I mean. All organisms animated by SCP-197 display positive personality traits and affection for Foundation personnel and other forms of life. Even carnivorous plants, introduced as part of Experiment 197-63 Seymour, SCP-197 duty was often used as both a reward and therapy for agents and researchers who have conducted a stressful assignment or experienced a traumatizing event, as interactions with the animated organisms were almost universally described as relaxing. Okay, so it's like it's a calming thing. You go to like a greenhouse, like you go to a conservatory for fun. You look at the plants for fun. It's relaxing. This is a bit different because the plants will talk to you, which again, I don't think I would be relaxed in that. But I can understand why it would be. It's used as a therapy thing. It was often used. I don't think it is anymore. Under the direction of the late Dr. Kingsley, SCP-197 testing involved distribution of organisms cultivated within SCP-197 to the public at large. A positive influence upon the poor urban community around SCP-197 was noted immediately, with both a reduction in crime and an increase to the average standard of living that has equally been reversed following the condemnation of SCP-197. Dr. Kingsley theorized that this was a result of SCP-197 itself creating a cycle of nurturing symbiosis between the community and plant life. It sounds to me like this thing is just a overall good thing, but it's condemned for some reason. And I think that's what this addendum is. Makes people happier, and during the mass distribution, I guess, it made people's lives better. It made people enjoy life more. It lowered crime and increased the standard of living. It made a poor urban community happier and more motivated and better, and that is really good. It's something that they should keep doing. However, I feel like this addendum is going to show why there's a problem. The addendum reads, testing and maintenance of SCP-197 was halted following Incident 197-A644. Dyla Kingsley's decapitated body was found within the greenhouse. Her severed head cradled within an empty flower pot, being held by an ivy that had been present at the site since the time of its discovery. Dyla Kingsley was the daughter of lead researcher Dr. Kingsley, and a trained botanist who was alone inside SCP-197. At the time of her death, this was the first instance of any act of violence on the part of the organisms raised within SCP-197. The ivy plant responsible for killing compared its actions to picking a pretty flower and displayed no remorse. Although it expressed concern over Dr. Kingsley's reaction and well-being, All organisms distributed from SCP-197 were retrieved and eradicated. Those within SCP-197 were eradicated upon removal from the site, with the exception of the Ivy data expunged. And that is the whole article. What did you do to the Ivy? You're hiding that, and that signals to me that it's still alive, and you're keeping it somewhere. But this Ivy killed Dr. Kingsley's daughter, which caused a whole series of events that got all the urban community's plans revoked and destroyed. That wasn't their fault. It's a safety thing. It made it so everything was eradicated and burned, and it could not live because the greenhouse posed a single threat. But that Ivy was there since it was discovered. That's what it said, so maybe it's like an overseer kind of thing. This Ivy compared it to picking a pretty flower, except they picked that head off a body, so I don't think that's pretty good. You know, you don't pick the heads off bodies. That's messed up. But it showed no remorse. I mean, I don't think it realized it was killing a person, is the thing. I think it just saw it as what would happen to a flower. But that explains why the current procedures are burn, it's scorched earth, it's nothing can live, it's do not let this thing live. It might pose a threat. And that's why it's no longer a therapy thing. It's kind of sad, because that could be really good for people. But this addendum is kind of just like what happened to this girl and how she died. She was trapped in there, and, you know, this Ivy didn't know any better, I imagine. I don't know why I'm justifying this to a plant. I can't believe it. I'm justifying a plant. But Dr. Kingsley, executive decision after that moment of no more, we can't risk it. And I also think it's a bit personal as well. A bit. It's his daughter. His or her daughter. But that explains why the containment procedures are the way they are, and it's like scorched earth, nothing, fire's not recommended, herbicides, you pull it out, you do whatever you have to do, fire's only needed if there's a lot and you can't physically do it, like grass. But it's just a greenhouse that makes plants live, talk, move. I don't like the talking bit. I've stated before, I'll state it again, I do not like the talking bit. That is terrifying. I mean, it doesn't have any organs, so it's just able to go about doing this. And it can lose its personality the second it leaves, but if you reintroduce it, it gets it back without any changes. But it does keep its lifespan and overall, like, growth rate. And I guess it emanates some joyful emotion. It, like, emanates some pheromone that makes people happier and more motivated, because that is why the poor urban community was able to kind of strive for a bit. They were happier, less crime, average standard of living increased. All this stuff, the plants weren't talking, but it probably emanated something. All I know is that, aside from that one instance, these plants did nothing but good, and this one instance is definitely enough to make it so, hey, this thing could be a threat, but as long as it's scorched earth, it's kind of neutralized in a way. Not really neutralized, because it's the building causing it. But it's safe, because you're keeping it under control. But something tells me that these plants, or the greenhouse, has memories, and it's going to remember you doing this, and it's going to create a lot of plants to kind of go to war if you keep it up. You poke the bear enough, and soon it'll get up. But with that being said, I'm going to leave this episode here. Thank you all so much. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe, as that helps boost the channel. If you have any other suggestions, just leave a comment, and I'll do my best to get to it. And yeah, thank you all so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!